So first, thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it. Let's see, about 20 people more than I normally talk to. So I'm really excited about that. So this is Introduction to Module Development. As some of you may be aware, there was a course yesterday that was all day about module development. So obviously in 45 minutes, I certainly can't cover what they covered yesterday, but I can certainly get your feet wet. So a little bit about me. First, my name is Manish Champsee. I have a company called Champsee Solutions. I've been a developer for over 20 years. I have been working with Drupal since about 2010. My company works both with companies with and without Drupal developers. So some clients are clients that don't have development staff themselves. So we go in and we create project soups to nuts. In other cases, like UCSF, we work with the developers who are there on things that they either don't have time for or haven't learned yet, or things like that. Okay, so those are two pictures of me. So the one on the left, I think I was about 6, and I was trying to learn to ride a bike, and I could not learn to ride. It took me a long time. I think I was like 8 by the time I learned. And what happened was, I'm 8 years old. I'm sitting on my bike, right, and I've just got my foot on the curb, and I'm waiting for somebody to come and, just hold the seat behind me and help me try and balance and stuff like that. And so I'm sitting there waiting, and then somebody comes up from behind me, and I still to this day don't know who it was, but somebody comes and they pushed me, and I just went, ah! But I was balancing, and then I started pedaling. And I was like, wow, this is easy. How did I not get this until now? And so that's a photo, that's a much more recent photo of me. I used to bike to work a lot for about 5 or 10 years. I've gone camping with my bike. I commuted with my bike, as I mentioned. And I've had this lifelong love affair with the bicycle because one day somebody came up from behind me and pushed me. And so, today that's what I'm hoping to do for you guys, is to just give you a little push to learn how to write modules. And, I figure a year or two from now, most of you should be core contributors. And you can all think back to today when I just gave you that little push. So I will do a couple of examples. You're welcome to follow along if you learn better that way, if you've got a machine running locally. And most importantly, I want to tell you where to get more information so you can continue along the path of writing custom modules. Okay, so I just wanted to see a show of hands. Who here is using Drupal 7? It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's okay. My name is Manish. I use Drupal 7. All right, what about Drupal 8? Okay, good. So most of you. Who's had exposure to structured programming languages, so PHP, Java, C#? All right, so just about everybody here. Who's actually written modules in Drupal? Okay, awesome. Hey. And who's here only to heckle me? Tim. Thank you, Tim. I knew I could count on you. Okay, so there are a couple of different programming constructs that Drupal has used. And so for most of Drupal's history, Drupal has used something called the hook system. And we'll get a little deeper into that. With Drupal 8 also uses the hook system, but it now uses these Symfony components known as event services and plugins. I think as many of you know, Symfony is an object-oriented framework that Drupal is now adopting. At some point, Drupal will probably get rid of the hook system, but for now it's there. And today I'm going to show you how to use the hook system. It's the easiest way to get started with programming in Drupal, programming modules, and this is sort of a basic definition. So Drupal will ask all of its enabled modules, basically, do they want to butt into the process at a certain point in the process of Drupal saving content, in the process of Drupal rendering content, in the process of, Drupal maintaining itself or whatever. It'll basically ask all the modules, hey, do you have something to say here? Do you have something you want to do? And you can at various points say, yeah, hey, I'd like you to do this, or I'd like you to do that. Okay, so let me demonstrate. All right. Okay, so basically this. Oh, you're not seeing what I'm seeing, are you?
Not yet.
Okay. No good. Now I can. Let me just take all the stuff off my machine that I don't want anybody to see. Okay. Okay. No? Actually, let me. Okay, so this is a basic stock installation of Drupal 8, and I'm going to be using a tool called Drupal Console. Has anybody heard of Drupal Console? Anybody not heard of Drupal Console? Okay, no one who's willing to admit it. Okay, so Drupal Console is this great tool that was invented with Drupal 8. And it does a lot of the, what's the word? It does a lot of basic work for you. It does a lot of creating stubs for you, but basic things that you don't have to keep typing over and over again. Drupal Console does. So, allow me to demonstrate. Is that getting bigger? Tim, can you? Okay. Better? Okay. Okay, so Drupal Console is something you use from the command line. And I'm using, hold on. What do people use to develop locally on their machines? I'm curious. PHP Storm. Sorry? Sublime. Atom. Does anybody use a virtual machine on their machines? Just started? Okay. And
yeah, I'm trying to move through
okay. Yeah, so there's a product called Lando. They've got a booth here this year, which is a great product. If you use Pantheon, anybody using Pantheon? It integrates really well with Pantheon in terms of bringing code down so that you can work on it on your local machine. So just something to keep in mind. So let's see. So Lando, Drupal, generate module. So basically, this is the command you run. Can you see that, Tim?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Drupal, in order to run Drupal Console, the command you run is Drupal. To create a module, you basically just say generate :module, and then Lando is the virtual machine product I was just telling you about. And so you hit that. And then maybe in 25 minutes my machine will think about what it wants to do. Anyone heard any good jokes lately? I don't know.
What's brown and sticky? Stink.
All right. Bada bing. Okay, enter.
See,
Okay.
that was funnier than mine.
Yeah. All right, enter new module name. So we're just going to call this Badcamp new module. Enter the machine name. Yeah, that sounds great to me. Module path. Again. Module description. My awesome module sounds fine to me. Package. People know what packages are?
Groups modules?
Yeah, it's what groups modules in the extend screen or the module screen, so you can know where stuff is. Drupal core version. This is 8. I'm not sure that console supports anything else, but we'll go with that. Do you want to generate a .module file? In this case, we're going to say yes. Define module as a feature. We're going to say no, and I'll get into some of the stuff later. Do you want to add a composer.json file? Do people know what a composer.json file is? All right. So in this case, we'll just say no. Module dependencies. We'll say no for the moment. And unit tests class, we'll just say no. Themable template, we'll also say no, just for our. And the confirm generation, we'll say yes. Okay, so basically it creates 2 files, and these are. So the first file, the Badcamp new module.info.yaml, that's basically a file that every single module has to have, that basically tells Drupal, hey, this is what I'm about. Who had said they were working with Drupal 7? Okay, so for Drupal 7, it's that exact same thing, but without the YML extension. And they're a little bit different, but basically what I would say is take a look at an existing module, like take a look at the views module or whatever. Look at its info file and just pretty much copy what's there. And then the other file is the .module file. That's basically where the instructions are. For Drupal 7, that was the most important file. That was where everything was. Drupal 8 is kind of moving away from having stuff in there, but for this example, we'll go with it. And then let me just open that file up. Where am I? Yeah. Okay, and so this is what gets generated. Right, so it's a basic structure, and it basically just says, this is what's gonna show up when you click help. And then what the example we're going to do is something called hook form alter. It's the most basic Drupal programming construct. And basically what it does is it alters the forms that Drupal uses. So we're going to go back into Drupal Console and we're going to generate that. So the command is Drupal generate form alter. Anyone else have any jokes while the computer sits and thinks about this?
What do you call a fly without wings?
A walk?
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so module name, we're calling this Badcamp new module. Don't generate a form structure, we'll say yes. New fields, we'll just say no for the moment. Confirm generation, yes. Alright, boom. And then, let's see. Okay, so then you can sort of see right here at the bottom, that's all what that just generated. Yes, sir.
You ran that, I just started with Lando.
Okay.
Ran that Lando, you already have it with the tools.
I did.
And you have to have Composer or that as well.
So Lando installs Composer.
What do you say?
When you set it up, in an ideal world, Lando would also install Drupal Console by default, but it doesn't. I know that there have been a couple of tickets asking them to do that because it's at this point a needed component of Drupal 8, but I'm sure at some point they will. But it's a relatively easy command, and you can find it relatively easily in the GitHub queue. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, and feel free to stop me if you if there's anything you want more information on. Okay, so basically what this has done is it's created a basic structure on how to alter a form, and so what I'm going to do here, just to sort of give you an idea what happens. So I'm just going to take this command and take it out of the if statement, and then we go back here, and I'm just going to cheat. So node add page. Oh, and I'm actually going to do one quick thing.
You gotta install the module.
Yeah, and I actually have to uninstall the one that I was working on before this session, just to make sure I got everything right. I even put it in my notes. It's like remember to enable the module. And I still didn't. Okay. And then you have to remember that there's a whole bunch of commands you had in Drupal 7 that they've just decided you shouldn't have in Drupal 8. They're just going to call it something different just to keep you on your toes. And installing and uninstalling modules is one of them. Clearing cache is another one that always gets me. Somebody a lot smarter than me decided why that would be. So I would love to tell you why, but I don't know because I'm too stupid. Alright, so that one's uninstalled, and then we're going to install the one we just created. No, of course. Okay, and then just to I'm just going to rebuild the cache. So do most of you guys use the command line? Do you guys use drush? Do you tend to use the... Okay, that's good to hear. That's good to see. Yeah, it takes a bit to get into using the command line, but once you do, there's just a lot of things that are so much easier to do with the command line that you'll ask yourself why you didn't start doing that a lot earlier. Probably not, but there's a lot of things like enabling and disabling modules, clearing cache, yeah, stuff like that. You can certainly do within the admin, but it's a lot easier and faster with the command line once you get comfortable with it. Okay, so we installed the module. Okay, and you can sort of see it says form test form alter executor, which was the command I took out of the if statement. So basically, what's happening is before this form gets drawn, it's looking at our function, and I can even let's bad camp stuff executed. Just this is where I do a little prayer to the demo gods, saying, please don't let this break. Okay, bad cam stuff executed. All right. Let's take this out. Okay, so what you can sort of see here is that this particular function takes in 3 arguments. One is the form, the other is form state, and the third one is form ID. Can you see that? Okay. So the form ID is basically what the name of the form internally to Drupal. Form state is basically what's in the form at the time, what got entered, it's kind of a conditional variable. The form itself is the one that has all of the information that Drupal needs to draw that form. And what I'm going to show you is a command called KSM. So KSM will tell us what's in the variable. It's part of the devel module. I should have actually said that earlier. This is a basic install of Drupal 8 with just a devel module installed, and everything else is vanilla.
It's developed part of the Drupal.
Devel is a contrib module.
It is a Drupal.
Yeah.
So, like Drupal 7.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of. One of the great things Drupal 8 did do was that Drupal 8 added a lot of functions that had been in contrib modules into core, so that Drupal 8 is now actually much more functional when you just install it. A few years ago, when Drupal 7 was the thing, I had a client who was waxing between WordPress and Drupal. I said, you should really consider Drupal. And he said, okay, well, I'll install both and I'll see how it goes. I said, well, yeah, if you just install Drupal 7, you're not going to think too highly of it. So, anyway. So I'll show you what's in those 2 variables. Okay, so basically it's so that's the form ID. So node page form. This is the page content type. So that's how you know that is. And this is sort of a great big array of all the different things Drupal uses to generate a form. And you can sort of. Is that clear in the back, by the way, or should I? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Is that any better? Okay. All right. Okay, and you can sort of see, like it's got class, and so those are the 2 classes that get added. Let's see. You can see sort of where it says vertical tabs, that refers to, the view edit tabs. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, right? The path, when it was created, the status, title, stuff like that. So so the first example I wanted to do was the promote field. And actually, let me Let me just clean this up. That's probably going to be easier.
What's the command you used from the film? I just installed it also. So you don't go under 7, it's DSM. Is it different now?
Yeah, now it's KSM.
KSM, okay, I tried that. It's totally turned out okay. DSM still works.
Okay. You may need to install something called Kint as well. Yeah.
Kint will crash you.
Yeah.
Like, depending on the RAM, you have a lot in
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kint is like white screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Kint is.
Actually change the depth that Kint goes to the levels.
Yeah. Well, if you specify, like, just right out of the box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it'll increase. Sorry.
I'll use DSM.
Or it'll increase your energy bill by 20%. It's one or the other. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so this was all a little smaller. In Drupal 7, this array isn't nearly as large, so that actually makes it a little easier to figure out. But it's something that's going away, so I guess they decided that they could be a little more verbose. So this is one example of how I've used this. It's the promote field. Do people know what the promote field is? Okay. So if you use Drupal, so by default Drupal, it shows all of the. When you just install Drupal and you add an article, it will show the last article, kind of like a blog, right? And so way back when, there was this thing called promoter to front page. Has anybody used promoter to front page in the last half century? Sometimes? Okay. So you've got this thing promoted to front page. That was kind of the idea, right? Drupal was like a blog style thing, and if you did promoter to front page, that particular article or piece of content would go to the front page. But that field is still there, and that field is still useful, and that field is still available to views, and stuff like that. So one of the things I've done in the past is to say, okay, if you click promoter to front page, you want to actually go to the front, you want to actually do what it did originally, but you can do promoter to front page. Say, okay, if you've got a content type of events, and you want to say certain events are show up at the top of the page, or promoted people, on the Bad Camp website, there are certain attendees who are featured, and they actually are on the homepage. And so, what you can do is you can tell people, hey, just click on this promoter to front page, and that'll mean the event you're creating will show up at the top. But then you got to tell people, oh yeah, well, click promoter to front page. It's not going to actually promote it to the front page. It's just going to do that. So one of the things you can do is you can change that label. So you can say featured page or featured event or whatever is going to be meaningful to the user. So you don't have to say, okay, well, it says this, but pretend it actually says this. Right, it becomes much more. It becomes much more obvious to people what you're trying to do. And so the way to kind of figure that out. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is a lot, isn't it? And and then for whatever reason, it all shows up expanded. I'm sure they had a great reason. Okay, so this is sort of everything that shows up under promoted, all the various things that Drupal uses to render the page, and under widget you can see this thing called title, which is promoted to front page, which for reasons I don't know doesn't actually do anything when you change it, but underneath title you can see value, and under value there's another title. I don't know if people can see that right here. So if I change this label, it'll change what you see underneath. So to sort of figure out how to do that, do you guys have experience working with arrays in PHP? Okay. Okay. So basically, this is the form variable. The top level is promote, as you can see right there. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just did Kinty. It's actually working just fine.
Oh, okay. Under that, there's widget. Under that, there's value, and then under that, there's hashtag title, I guess. So if we go in here, and then actually the first thing we should do. So so anything I put here will get executed anytime a form is displayed. If I do an if statement, so if form ID equals, I think this was node page form, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's no good. Yeah, you can sort of, this is the form ID here, right, node page form. Execute these commands, and basically it's $form promote widget value title, and we can say featured event. All right, and a quick prayer to the demo gods that I got that right. Then there you have it. And then a few other things you can do, which I found useful. Let's see. So we'll continue to use promote. Let's see. Okay, so there's this one right here, the hashtag access, I guess, and then it's showing it's true. And what that means is that field is going to get displayed. If I change it to false. You can see the field doesn't show up. Now, why would you want to do that? In Drupal 8, for the most part, if you, on at least on the node forms, you can decide what's going to be on those forms and what isn't. In Drupal 7, there were a lot of things that you couldn't get rid of, short of, you know. So, for instance, one I've used a lot is on the taxonomy. On the taxonomy page, there's the description field. For a lot of use cases in taxonomy, you don't really need the description field. So, and the only way to hide it is to do this, is to basically go in and say, you know, description field access equals false, and that's the that's the only way that you can do that. And there's all sorts of things like that as well. Just little UI wins, little things that'll help your users use the system without having to say, okay, well, it says this, but actually do this if it says that, and stuff like that. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Let's see. I'm sorry? Okay. Oh, I know what I need to do. Let's see. Okay, I need to turn mirroring off is what I need to do. Okay. All right. Okay, good enough. Okay, so some of the tools you should consider, as I said, is Drupal Console, getting a good IDE, editor config. Is anybody familiar with editor config? Okay, so basically, so the first thing is Drupal has coding standards, right? Most programming languages have some level of coding standards. I could tell you what the coding standards are, or I could tell you to use something called an editor config file. And what that does is that if your IDE supports it, it will look into that file, and the file will tell the IDE how the code should be formatted. So with Drupal, for instance, we do spaces instead of tabs. Did anyone see that Silicon Valley episode? Yeah. Go watch Silicon Valley. That's all I can say. Yeah. So Drupal uses spaces. We use two spaces for instead of one tab, and basically the editor config file will tell your IDE what the coding standards are. So it's something you don't really need to worry about. Okay, some resources. API.Drupal.org is where you're going to find all the information on the various APIs, such as the hook form alter that I just showed you. It's a great resource for finding, anything else you might want to need in terms of anything you might want to try and program. This link is cut off a little bit, but it's drupal.org/docs/8/creating-custom-modules. If you Google Drupal 8 custom modules, this will be one of the first links you'll see. It's a resource on Drupal.org that's excellent. That has some really good step-by-step of how to create custom modules. Let's see, and then another really important resource: copy and pasting from Stack Overflow. But there's a serious point, which is that there are tons of resources out there. People have figured stuff out, especially if you're using Drupal 7. There's not a problem in Drupal 7 that somebody hasn't figured out, that they haven't put online, that you can go and use, and that's why it's there. Questions?
Nope.
No.
Just glasses.
Classes. Okay. I apparently did far too good a job of
Yeah.
explaining all this stuff to you, didn't I? All right, so there's my contact information. If I can be of service to you at all in helping you write custom modules and become core contributors, by all means, please get a hold of me. I've got some cards right here that you can pick up. And thank you for listening to me.